Food waste is really a major problem in our world. The FAO tells us that approximately a third of the food that is produced is actually lost between harvest and the consumer. And this is equivalent to roughly $3 billion a year. So this is enormous. Food waste is even more of a problem in low-middle income countries where there might be food insecurity. Food may be lost for many different reasons. There might be insects, mold, rodents, or simply a physical loss through transportation. And there are many different steps where food can be lost. This is what the African Post-Harvest Losses Information System has been doing for many years. They have developed a system that estimates post-harvest losses. So we, as the NUTRI-P-LOSS, we are working in complement to this AFLIS system because we are developing a methodology to estimate post-harvest nutritional losses. This is what the African Post-Harvest Losses Information System has been doing for many years. They have developed a system that estimates post-harvest losses. So we, as the NUTRI-P-LOSS, we are working in complement to this AFLIS system because we are developing a methodology to estimate post-harvest nutritional losses. This is how the AFLIS platform looks like. It's freely available for anyone to use. And you can select the country, the crop, and then you can look at the different steps of the value chain, and you can have an estimate for all the steps of the percentage of food loss. So as part of this IMANA program, we are developing a nutritional add-on that will come onto the existing AFLIS platform. This is our team from different countries, different organizations. And this is the countries where we work. So we have 3 crops: sweet potato, including orange fresh sweet potato, maize, including orange maize, and cowpea, and 2 countries, Uganda and Zimbabwe. Losses can be of 2 types. So on one hand, you have the nutritional losses in weight. So if you're carrying a product, you might lose some of it, and so you can easily convert the weight of the product lost into a nutritional loss using a food composition table. On the other hand, you have nutritional losses in quality. So if you store a product, so this is dried orange fresh sweet potato, if you store it, you might notice that the color is fading over time, and this is because there is a loss in vitamin A. So you're losing the quality of the product, you're losing some of the vitamin, but it's not necessarily related to a physical loss. Our project combines literature review, laboratory, and field verification. And this is how it looks, the diagram of so we have on one hand the physical nutritional losses in green, and in orange we have the nutritional losses in quality. And so this is our model, and then we validate this using the field work in Uganda and Mozambique and Zimbabwe. And this is then refined and then feeds into then we will develop an algorithm to estimate this nutritional loss that will then feed into the AFLIS platform. And that will be available for any stakeholder to consult. So we did some laboratory work to look at the losses in quality. So we specifically looked at the effect of insect infestation on nutrient changes in maize, cowpea, and sweet potato. And so what we found, though this is on cowpea, we found that as insect damage was increasing, so you can see in the y-axis is the proliferation of insects, so percentage damage. There was an increase in moisture content. there was a decrease in carbohydrate and fiber, but interestingly, there was an increase in protein and iron, and we thought this was because of larvae that remained in the grain that might have increased the protein content. So these are some of the results. With regards to the field work, we conducted work with different stakeholders and farmers, 200 farmers in Uganda. So you can see on that picture a women's group that was conducted by one of our partners from International Potato Center, and she was asking the women about the causes of post-harvest losses. So we engaged different stakeholders in our process. And this is another picture in Zimbabwe of a researcher who is talking to farmers. They've been storing grains of orange maize in different packaging, and they were looking at the effect of packaging on storage. And they found that with insect infestation, so there was natural infestation of grain, they were in different packaging. They found that hermetic packaging had there was less infestation. So this gives hope for mitigation of post-harvest losses. So the next step for us is to analyze those bags and those samples in the lab for nutritional composition. In conclusion, the NUTRI-P-LOSS is a methodology to estimate nutritional post-harvest losses. It is the first of its kind. It combines a threefold approach with literature, laboratory, and fieldwork. So we've developed this on 3 crops, but we hope that the methodology will be used for many crops and will be applicable to many countries. Thank you.
You showed that the insect damage on the cowpeas led to an increase in protein and iron, I think, and that raises some questions. Was there a loss in economic value? And if so, to what level? And have you worked out if the overall nutritional value is actually growing through this so-called loss in value, loss in insect damage, because of the fact that people are perhaps eating the insect larvae and getting nutrition that way? Just a question.
With regards to the economic value, this is a very good point. I know the AFLIS system has a new project called the AFLIS+, funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundations. And they're also looking at economic loss in addition to physical loss, and also they have an interest in nutritional loss. So this is a very good point. With regards to the overall nutritional value, we are still analyzing the results, but this is definitely something we will look at. But we need to combine the different nutrients and also look at so we've measured the energy expenditure, the energy of those, for instance, macronutrients and all those things, but yes.
In your presentation, you showed a slide indicating that losses occur at different points, not just on storage. But your methodology here seems to focus more on losses occurring at the point of storage. Is this because the storage losses or the point of storage is a critical loss point, or this is just a first step, you will expand into losses at other points later?
It's true that as I showed, there are 2 types of nutritional losses. There are physical losses and nutritional losses in quality. So the nutritional losses in quality tend to happen in storage, because that's when the product stays for long, and when insect infestation can occur, also vitamin A can be lost. But and so for the other steps, it's mostly a physical loss. So this can easily be estimated using a food composition table.
You collected 2 very as you pointed out, you collected 2 very sensitive data, like geolocation and pictures. I was wondering how you did you face any pushback from the power that be about these, about privacy and of all that, and how you manage that, number one. Number two, I believe the whole idea of photo elicitation also, as you mentioned, it's more community-based. It's about people telling their own story. And I feel, it seems like from what I saw, it's still one step of the, I'm asking you all kinds of questions. So it's people telling their own story, and this feedback and participatory thing is still a feature that you're trying to maintain or not, and if yes, how?
We can maybe take that one afterwards. For the first question, yeah, it was quite a challenge actually to, especially with the ethics boards, to sort of convince them that this was going to be an ethical study. Of course, there was much being done with photo elicitation, not so much with regard to food environment research. So it was a case of, justifying that. Of course, the data is very sensitive, and that's the reason why the data set is a closed data set. And I should note also the photographs that are in the presentation, and also the examples from the maps, that was taken either from pilot testing or from the field team, and we had some people that were known to us, and they gave us full consent to be able to share those. But they are indicative of the wider pictures that were taken. And as I mentioned earlier, one of the things I would change would be to have a more community-based aspect, to go more down the traditional photo elicitation route. But what I tried to do here was something a bit novel in using sort of the qualitative GIS and using the maps in conjunction with the photographs and also the interviews, and to be able to triangulate those data sources to get more in-depth. And as I mentioned earlier, to have the intra-household gender sort of perspective, I really wanted to sort of keep the data set separate and make sure that they were confidential, because I think that was the best way to be able to address those issues.
And I really enjoyed your presentation, and it's really thought-provoking. So I have two quick questions for you. The first is, can you tell us a little bit about how long the 18-question module takes? And the second question is more of a sort of thinking about the data that you've collected so far. You had that lovely slide showing, kind of worldwide water availability all the way down to the molecule level. And you made a jump from household to molecule. And I would argue maybe intra-household factors could also matter around water access. And I guess I'm wondering if you could reflect a little bit on what your data might say about intra-household water security. Thank you.
The 18 questions to ask, I would guess, takes about 7 or 8 minutes. And 18 isn't the final number, still TBD. We want to get a little shorter. I want to get it shorter than that. So in the end, it's how often in the last month have you X, Y, or Z a few times repeated. The question of what's happening at the individual versus the household level is such a good question. And in fact, Vicky Santoso, who is floating around this conference, did something really cool in Tanzania where she asked these water insecurity experience questions to the mothers of the household as well as to the fathers of the household to see how the story held. And the story was pretty consistent between men and women, sort of a water version of the he said, she said of food insecurity. I don't know if that's going to be the case everywhere, and so I'm, again, encouraging everyone to consider these sorts of questions in all of your endeavors on agriculture and health, because there's a lot of power with water, a lot of power. Thanks.
Thanks. I'm going to take...
which storage point you are targeting? There are storage at farmers storage at retailers or consumers storage. So do you consider all that? And the other is, even doesn't physical loss also can lead us for the nutritional loss? Because if the loss are physically happen, that also have an impact on the overall nutritional loss. So why only on the storage points? Yeah, thank you.
This is it's a tool that we are developing, so we actually looking at storage in general, so it's not necessarily at the farmer level or at the market, but it's trying to model what happens in storage in general. So it's true that there will be time when storage will be extended So that's when there are more risks of nutritional losses in quality. So that's what we are interested in. And we focused on that point because that's where we think that it's the most, as I explained, it's the trickiest to measure and to predict, especially when there is insect infestation.
Thank you very much for the questions. And thank you very much to the speakers for an excellent, innovative set of presentations on interesting and very creative sort of approaches towards measurement and tracking and development of metrics.